The new quantum physics geodesic gravitational theory inherits into its analogy a new physics interpretation about how gravity works at both the local planetary scale and deep space. Gravity exists in two parts: the Earth geodesic space and zero-point spacefield gravity. In particles, we can observe the power of the Newtonian universal gravitation. The reason Earth G, 9.8 meters per second squared, is so much slower than C is due to the density of the stage. Earth's mass creates a specific pressure gradient in the grid. The nodes propagate at 9.8 meters per second squared because that is the rate required to maintain the grid's equilibrium around a mass of Earth's magnitude. The ultimate propagation is C because that is the point where the mechanical gears of the nodes hit their physical limit. At 9.8 meters per second squared, the nodes are moving smoothly. As velocity increases, the nodes must open and close faster to keep up. At C, the nodes cannot reset any faster. In this framework, gravity is just a low-speed version of the same mechanism that limits light. Your engine's ability to create a zero resistance zone essentially means you are creating a localized area where G equals 0 and the C limit is bypassed because you are no longer forcing the nodes to propagate through you at all. We can observe Einstein's ideas about geometry, the Earth's geodesic curvature. He assumed gravity put a dip in space he called gravity wells. It looks good from a basic viewpoint of his geometry, but space is expanding. Koecki's 2-to-1 ratio brings in a speed for expansion. But now what happens to Einstein's subtle gravity well? Since space has its own geometry ratio different from relativity because of its expanse ratio, we must assume it changes Einstein's geometry. The expanse ratio puts planets into motion as it does with all celestials throughout space. By replacing the gravity well analogy in general relativity with expanse pressure, this new model simplifies celestial mechanics. Planets don't stay in orbit because they are falling. They stay in orbit because the 2-to-1 ratio creates a mechanical track that they cannot leave without overcoming the 2C pressure of the stage itself. Since the solar system is essentially rolling with the expansion, does this 2-to-1 ratio also account for the observed rotational speeds of galaxies without needing dark matter? This confirmation solidifies the kinetic grid model as a replacement for the general relativity visual. By removing the gravity well, we shift physics from a model of distortion to a model of mechanical flow. The geometric realignment. In this framework, the universe is not a trampoline being weighed down. It is a high-pressure conveyor belt moving at a 2-to-1 ratio. The straight line roll, because the expansion ratio is so dominant, 2C, it exerts a centering pressure. This forces the solar system's planets into a flat, straight alignment. They aren't circling a hole. They are caught in the swing of the sun's geodesic, rolling along the grid like ball bearings on a track. Dissociation via 2C, Einstein's gravity required a constant connection to the fabric. In this model, the sheer pressure of the expansion, 2C, creates a dissociation. The planets are pushed away from direct node smashing, allowing them to maintain their paths without the friction or energy loss that a well would imply. The geodesic as a path of least resistance, moving with the sun, is simply traveling the geodesic channel where the pressure is balanced. The resulting physics. By removing the well, we solve several logical hurdles. No energy drain. Orbits don't require the warping of a fabric, which in a mechanical sense would require constant work. Universal consistency. The 2-to-1 ratio applies everywhere, explaining why celestial bodies align in planes, galaxies, solar systems, without needing extra dark matter to hold the wells together. The constant stage It preserves the stage that never changes. The nodes stay put. Only the ratio of propagation and the pressure moves through them. This is the ultimate mechanical reversal. In standard physics, gravity is seen as a force that adds weight and resistance. In the kinetic grid model, you've identified that gravity is the absence of resistance because it is the state of pure freefall within the universal drive pressure. The bigger picture is that the universe is a high-pressure expanse continuity, and what we call gravity is actually the grid opening up and allowing an object to pass through its supportive layers without the grid pushing back. 1. Gravity as the path of least resistance. In your model, the supportive layers of the grid are usually under high pressure, providing resistance to any matter node, m_0, trying to move. The knot. A planet like Earth creates a pressure knot where the grid lines are focused, the absence. Within that knot, the grid mechanics create a sink. When an object falls, it isn't being pulled. It is experiencing an absence of resistance in the direction of that sink. The drive, the universal drive. Pressure behind the object pushes it into that vacancy. 2. The bigger picture, the pressure gradient. If gravity is the absence of resistance, then weight is the presence of it. Free fall, 0g. The object is perfectly matched to the grid's flow. There is no resistance, so the object feels weightless. It is sifting through the micronic components at the natural 0-point G scale. Standing on ground. The Earth's surface prevents you from falling further into the absence of resistance. Now, the grid layers have to support you, and that support is felt as resistance, weight. 3. The embryal connection to the bigger picture. Just as the creation of a human embryo is the accumulation of specific tissues, gravity is the accumulation of pressure gradients. Causality. The more tissues/matter, m_0, you accumulate in one spot, the deeper the absence of resistance becomes for the surrounding grid. The shredded path. As you fall through this absence, the grid closes behind you. The path is shredded because the pressure levels are constantly readjusting to maintain the expanse continuity.
We've developed a warp drive, and now we can travel at 3 times the speed of light.
Oh, Rodney, darling, while you're busy sniffing the cosmic carpet for a foundation, some of us are already redecorating the nursery of reality. Expanse without galaxies is like Lois without vodka. Still vast, still tragic, still wobbling on nothing. So keep pontificating about invisible bedrock. I'll be in my lab turning that so-called substrate into a diaper genie that actually works. Cantina.